The man with the hat. I'm not entirely sure of what exactly happened that night. This happened when I was in my early teens. I come from a devout Catholic family. We attended Mass every Sunday, our house was blessed by the priest, and my parents hosted dinner for him last Easter. So I grew up volunteering for various church activities, including services and retreats. It was around the time I started working on the retreats when something changed. One time I went to the house where we were hosting the retreat to prepare for the activities, and I heard voices in another room. When I went to check what it was, I realized no one was there. Or I would be home alone and feel a tap on my shoulder, with no visible hand or body accompanying it. If this was only one time, I would dismiss it, but it happened so often that it started to scare me. I had no idea what to do, and we didn't have Google back then, so I asked the only expert I knew that could offer any guidance and help me, our priest. I was worried that there was something wrong with me, because the church teaches us that seeing or hearing otherworldly things is bad. Unsurprisingly, the priest basically reinforced that. I shouldn't see things, and it could be a temptation, something trying to lead me away from God. He told me to follow the path God had for me. That meant praying more hours, volunteering at the church, and to follow his words. This went on for months. Sometimes I wouldn't experience anything for a couple of weeks, only to come back as something different later. Every time it happened, I confessed it to the priest. I hoped that confessing would help stop what was happening, and the priest would offer more guidance. But it was always the same. Pray harder. Don't sin. I felt so ashamed I couldn't do it, like my faith was not strong enough, and eventually I stopped asking for guidance and learned to endure it. One retreat, I was assisting the speakers with their activities and guiding the kids through their Bible study sessions. But as the day progressed, I started to feel something thick hanging in the air that made my chest so tight it was hard to breathe. I could almost feel the weight of the air around me. It was as if my body was moving through mud, every step with more effort than the last. Talking to kids and cleaning up after them was a struggle. I think I picked a fight with another volunteer about something I can't even remember. My whole body felt wrong. I got worried that something bad was going on and it was going to ruin the retreat or something, and I considered talking to the priest about it, but then I remembered his glare and changed my mind. So I tried to focus on the retreat, the children, the activities we had planned, and for some time the heavy energy I was feeling lowered a little. The priest had asked me to plan an activity, and to my surprise, it went better than I expected. I felt like I really helped some kids that day, not in a huge way, but just listening, being present, and letting them figure out who they wanted to be. For the first time, I truly felt proud of what I did at these retreats. On the way back, my heart was so full, I was feeling genuinely happy about helping others. But despite my positive attitude, as soon as I was alone, I could still feel this heavy, sinister energy in the air. It pushed me down and made it difficult to breathe. It was something bad happening again, even though I did the activities and tried my best to be a good role model for those kids. I just couldn't do it. My faith really wasn't enough. When I arrived home, I was so drained both physically and emotionally, I just wanted to sleep. Normally, I like to take a shower before sleep, but this time I went straight to my bedroom, threw my bag on the floor, and slumped onto the bed. Every muscle in my body felt like it had been drained of its strength. I couldn't even keep my eyes open. I remember looking at the 7-day candle I kept on my nightstand and thinking about replacing it since the wax had almost completely melted. But my arms and legs were so heavy, I didn't want to move to get a new one. Next thing I remember is waking up in the dead of night to a room covered in an unsettling darkness. My 7-day candle usually bathes my room in a warm glow, but this time, its flame was barely flickering, casting only a weak, trembling light. I hate to wake up in the dark, so I instinctively reached for the light switch, but my arm remained immobile. I thought my arm was numb and tried my other arm, but again, no response. Panic flared in my chest. My left leg, then my right, nothing. I felt that same pressure I felt the whole day. The heaviness had now locked it into place. A cold wave washed over me, causing the hairs on my arms to stand on end. What's happening? My heart was beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. Get up! I tried shaking myself, but it was like I'd been pinned by invisible weights. The pressure increased slowly. My lungs burned like the air was too thick to inhale. I tried looking around in my paralyzed state, searching for something, I didn't know what, in the darkness. My room was simple, a modest single bed, a TV and a desk facing it, a nightstand beside the bed, and a closet to the right. Just next to my closet, on the other side of the bedroom door, I saw a dark shape, as tall as the door. I couldn't understand what I was seeing. At first, it appeared as an inexplicable solid shadow. The only thing allowing me to see it was the absence of the soft light coming from the hallway. That sight sent cold waves of terror back of my neck down my spine. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it. The darkness made it nearly impossible to discern its true features, but as my eyes adjusted, I gradually made out the faint but distinct shapes. Jagged shoulders, unnaturally elongated legs that hovered just above the floor. Its head disappeared from the top of the doorframe. I wanted to scream, but all that escaped my lips was a weak gasp. My chest constricted even further. The little air I could get fled from my lungs in panicked, silent desperation. I squeezed my eyes shut. I knew I shouldn't look at it, but as soon as I did, the thought of losing sight of this entity made my heart sink. What was it going to do if I didn't see it? I had to look. Then it moved. The shadow shifted, its long arms twisting like broken branches, writhing in slow, deliberate jerks. Its long fingers dragged across the wall as if it was pulling itself forward across the archway of the door. The weight on my chest intensified with its proximity. What is this? I had no idea what was happening, but my brain kept trying to make sense of it. I don't remember if its legs moved. I just saw the figure getting bigger and bigger as it approached me. My eyes stung. I was barely blinking, terrified of what it would do if I wasn't looking. It brought the darkness with it. The weak light from my 7-day candle flickered and dimmed, the flame almost a wisp now. It stopped right next to the head of my bed. As it approached, my vision sharpened and I could see its long neck and on top of the head, a flat-topped hat with an impossibly wide brim. Then with the same painfully slow speed, it bent its back in an awkward angle. Straight legs and flat torso, its head slowly lowering down, coming closer and closer to my own. I kept my eyes on it. What was it going to do to me? What did it want? The deep darkness of that thing's body was now blocking any light and engulfing me in complete darkness. Then under the brim of the hat, now I could see 2 red glows appear, swirling around like pools of red wine. They locked onto me. I couldn't look away. I was falling into them, drawn into something endless and consuming. A terror I had never known took hold of me. I gasped, my body shaking beneath its unseen grip. My lungs burned, my heartbeat a frantic drum against my ribs. The closer it was, the less I could breathe. All I wanted to do was to pull the sheets over my head, to shield myself from it, but my body still didn't obey me. All I could do was shut my eyes and pray this was just a bad dream. Despite my terror, I had to do something. I remember thinking light could help, perhaps, like a shadow. Would this thing recede if I switched the lights on? I strained against the weight pushing the air out of me, desperate to reach the switch on the bedside. But my attempts were futile. My arms remained trapped. I didn't know what else to do to escape that waking nightmare, so I tried asking for help. The familiar prayers, like the Our Father and Hail Mary, spilled into my mind. I tried opening my eyes again as I repeated the prayers in my head, and I saw the entity still lowering towards me, inching closer with every heartbeat. I closed my eyes again and continued praying. Please, Lord, help me with whatever this nightmare was. Then I felt the remaining air in my lungs be pushed out as the pressure turned so strong they couldn't expand anymore. I gasped and tried to force air in, but I couldn't push against it. I don't remember how long it took, but eventually I forced my eyes open once more. I needed to see it. My blood turned cold when I saw those swirling pools of red spinning mere inches from my face in a deep darkness. The entity was no longer beside my bed, but on top of me. It felt as if their eyes were not only dissecting my soul, but probing the very depths of me. They burned with intensity. This thing was angry, so very angry, and their anger was directed squarely at me. The pressure on top of me increased more and more, an ominous hovering above me, never making physical contact. I shut my eyes again and returned to my prayers, the only comfort I had. but closing my eyes felt even worse. I needed to know what it was going to do. For what felt like an eternity, I was fighting against this paralyzing terror. I switched between staring at the red eyes and desperate prayers in my head with my eyes shut. I was frantic and went through all the prayers I could remember. Nothing seemed like it was working. I could feel myself growing desperate. My vision blurred when I tried to open my eyes. I shut them as strongly as I could and felt tears falling down my cheeks. My limbs felt nailed to the bed. I couldn't call for help. Nothing was going to help me. I shouldn't have looked. I couldn't breathe. I was going to die. This thing was going to kill me. Lord, I prayed for forgiveness. I know I'm a sinner. Please, I don't know what I did wrong. I shouldn't have looked. Please help me watch my actions. I begged and prayed it would leave me alone and promised I would never look again. Then I felt the pressure on top of my body lowering a little bit. I remember almost opening my eyes but fighting that instinct and keeping them shut. As I kept that prayer in my head, I felt the heavy energy in the room lighten a little bit more. Please forgive me for looking. I shouldn't have. I am a sinner. I will show respect. Once the pressure felt as lighter as when I first saw this thing, I remember finally being able to take a proper breath. I felt almost a shift in the room's energy, like a wave moving the weight in the air. I come before you with a humble heart, acknowledging my shortcomings and seeking your forgiveness. I ask for your mercy. The suffocating pressure began to lift, and once more I forced my arm to move and finally managed to reach for the bedside switch, quickly bathing the room in light. I finally opened my eyes to the painful light and my body jerked up to sit. Took a moment for my eyes to adjust and I looked around my room, gasping for air and trying to get my heart rate to slow down. Everything seemed normal. My closet, the TV, the empty hallway, except my 7-day candle flame had burned out. As my breath slowed down, I remember thinking that it was definitely a nightmare, but I knew it wasn't. I stayed in my room, but I couldn't go back to sleep. I kept the light on that night, and many others after that. I never told anyone at church. I knew what they'd say. I just stopped going to retreats and eventually Mass. To this day, there are some nights when things feel a little bit heavier and I keep my lights on. If I don't, it visits again. And when it does, I know I shouldn't look.